Water's a big issue on the farm, particularly as we've had very wet summers and sometimes very wet winters over the last few years. And we're in a very steep north-facing slope. So the danger all the time is that we get erosion of soil and then we get runoff of fertility or we get runoff of dung from the land into watercourses and out at the farm. Well, we're standing here in a shelter belt on the farm. This and some of the other drainage ditches on the farm all go into a silt trap at the bottom of the farm, which is disguised as a pond, and we can then empty that every few years and put the silt back onto the farm. What we've got here just behind me is one of the ponds we've created on the farm to trap silt and to trap nutrients. Again, this is at the bottom of quite a long run of ditch coming down the hill, but this pond will take up some of the nitrogen from the water, and it also, as you can see, captures some of the mud. So again, we can scoop that out every so often, quite gently, and without disrupting the sort of wildlife too much, and then put that back on the land. Along the little drainage ditches, we've planted a lot of willows, which again help to stabilize the banks of the ditches, but they also mean that, again, they're taking up nutrient, and you've got some biomass which we can use for other projects on the farm. So this little shelter belt, we could have used it for grazing, but it's doing about 5 different jobs at the moment that are actually more valuable to us as a farm than having 2 more sheep.
Where ground is left brown over the winter, there's much more danger of silt being washed into the watercourse. The fields are all kept green all of the year here, so there's not a problem with silt being washed into the watercourse. On pesticides, whenever we are using herbicides, if we are spraying a field, we would make up a little bit less than we think the field needs, and then we would use the little bit of the field that's not done, use the washings, go back over it and make sure that we carry a little water in the sprayer, and we wash out the sprayer in the field and put the spray-ins back on the field so that we don't have to dump anything down into any tanks or store it around. It's put on the ground where it's doing a bit of use. The containers and so on are triple washed and punctured and then taken to a licensed waste disposal contractor who will dispose of it in an environmentally friendly way. The weather controls all kinds of farming operations. We need to make sure that the nutrients we put onto the land are on the land and not in the watercourse. So we don't want heavy rain to be forecast within the next 48 hours. If possible, it is ideal if there's a little bit of dampness in the soil to melt the fertiliser or to make sure that the slurry gets properly into the soil and get it into the plant. That is the ideal, but we certainly do not want too much rain coming to wash it away.
This is part of the systems we're putting in place on the farm to minimise diffuse pollution. This wavy coil here is coming out of a ditch which takes the runoff from in front of the cattle sheds. So it's not cattle dung, but it's things like the mud and the silage that when we're putting it into the cattle, there is nutrients in there, and we're trying to make sure again that that doesn't go into the farm ditches and leave the farm and also mess up the watercourses. So here we've got a little wavy coil that comes out and into a little bank of willow trees, which is part of our agroforestry schemes on the farm. So the willows are doing a lot of useful work on the farm, but the point is we're using this little bit of nutrients to feed the willows and to improve growth on the willows, and they're essentially taking up the nutrients rather than letting them go into the groundwater. So you can see here from the flush of grass here that there are some nutrients coming out of that ditch which we're making use of. And the sheep that are lambing in this field at the moment are having a good chomp on the grass as well. So again, it's just trying to keep all the fertility that we've got on the farm staying where it is rather than losing it into the water and disappearing from the farm.